Human, for me, is a way of processing information. And we call the way this processing happens human. What goes along with that, unfortunately, and it's been encouraged, we are encouraged and pressured to self identify with that form of information processing, and thus to perceive the entirety of ourselves as what we perceive to be human, when human is merely a ridiculously brief experience for our true self, our true I, which is consciousness. I see one infinite stream of consciousness, and we're all different points of attention within that stream of consciousness. So you will be an expression of the same consciousness that I am, but you will, through your life experience and probably experience beyond what we call human, you will have a slightly, and in many cases, considerably different perception. But we're all points of attention, perception, within the same stream of infinite awareness. When we, as consciousness, forget form, just a state of being aware, when that awareness works through what we call a human body, the human body, I've been calling it now for nearly 30 years, a biological computer, and it processes information in a particular way. So if we just look at the foundations of this reality, and then we can come to this deeper look at what human is. According to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum is 0.005% of what exists in the universe. What we're looking at is absolutely negligible compared with what exists, even in this universe, which is just one reality within infinite reality. Then we look at that which we can see, which we perceive as a visual reality, what we actually call the human world. And that is called visible light, and it is a fraction of the 0.005%. When we perceive the world around us, we think we are seeing everything that exists in the space that we perceive, when actually all we are perceiving visually is a tiny, almost laughably narrow band of frequency that we call visible light. And the body computer, is focusing our attention, a bit like looking through a telescope, it's focusing our attention on this tiny band of frequency. While we're in embodiment, if you like, we are having our attention focused within what you might call the five sense world. Can I see it, touch it, taste it, hear it? It must exist.
Only
there.
on becoming supernatural.
Which is where, of course, mainstream science comes from, overwhelmingly. I mean, quantum physics has taken a different route, thank goodness, but mainstream science is constantly asking, can I see it, touch it, taste it, hear it? Then it must exist. And if I can't, then it can't exist. So here we are as an expression of consciousness, having our attention focused within this narrow band of frequencies of what we call I'll call the five sense world. And then when we have these now millions of near-death experiences that people have recounted when the body has died, ceased to function, ceased to process information in the same way, and they have been released from this connection, and suddenly they describe in extraordinarily common themes and detail the massive expansion of consciousness that goes on. How once you experience other levels of reality, everything changes. Why? Because the consciousness, our consciousness, the I, that has been had its attention focused on this reality, has been released from that focus, and suddenly it can perceive vastly, vastly more about itself and reality than it did before. The reason that in my books, when I talk about names, dates, places, conspiracy, I never write about that stuff in my books without also adding the nature of reality, because secret societies are secret for a reason. They hold secrets, and the deeper or higher you go in these secret societies, the more profound the secrets become. And the biggest secret of all is the nature of reality. And what this network has done, and it's intergenerational, passed on through the secret society networks, it has sought to even more focus human attention only on the five senses. So we perceive the eye as our labels. My name, my life story, my race, my religion, my income bracket, this is who I am. When actually they are only simply experiences that our consciousness is having. And if you look at the story of a human life from the womb to the cemetery, it is a constant download of perceptual programming. The education system's not there to educate, it is there to program a perception. And if you look at how, for instance, censorship works, becoming more and more extreme, of course, and all the attacks you get, when you do what? When you in any way deviate from the programmed norm, how we're supposed to perceive. It's like putting people in prison and then policing the prison, perceptual prison, and then policing the prison so no one can escape. The irony is that the other prisoners overwhelmingly are the ones that jump on any one of them that wants to escape. In other words, wants to expand their consciousness. Now, if you do that, if you don't allow yourself to go into programmed response mode, where you take, like a computer, if you don't do that and you want to explore, you want to step off what I call the postage stamp consensus of perceived reality of everything, then you start to realize the true nature of the I. Because we can experience the five senses. Why wouldn't we? We're here to interact with this reality through the five senses. But you don't have to be dominated by five sense reality. You can expand your awareness, and suddenly, instead of being in the world and of it, and getting all your information only from the sources of mainstream communication, you're suddenly getting access to expanded states of awareness, which can give you a much greater fixed understanding of actually what you're experiencing. And if you look through history, those people called different names. At one time, they're called seers and shamans and holy people and such like. And now they're called things like conspiracy theorists and whatever. But there's a common theme, and that is they were challenging the orthodoxy of the day. And the orthodoxy is its own defense mechanism. Because if the few can control the perceptions of the many, because perception becomes behavior. Of course, once you do expand your awareness, truly expand it, once you truly realize what the true I is, which is a state of awareness that is eternal and is indestructible, then things like fear of death and fear of consequences just go straight out the bloody window. Suddenly you've got the power to act upon what you believe, rather than being intimidated into silence and acquiescence because you fear what might happen. I, for one, don't give a damn what might happen to me. I give a damn about my self-respect in terms of following my perception of reality and not having it downloaded from some dark suit who's usually not very bright either.